Hello students, my name is Dr. Varun. Well, I know that most of you have a problem with what is happening in oogenesis, what is this follicular development, how to tackle this question. Well, I have the solution for you. Well, first of all, when you are studying oogenesis, you have to remember that this topic has two parts to be remembered. One thing is what is happening with the gamete formation, that how the gamete is being formed, and second thing is that the associated things which is present outside, that is the cells are being formed, layers are being formed outside of it with the passage of time. Okay, like that way if you will understand, you will able to understand it. In the last lecture, if you want to see, go back to that video where I have talked about just oogenesis. I have never talked about the follicular development over here, but now we will study the follicular development around it. So same thing we are recapitulating again in this topic and going forward. Okay, so if you see in the initial point of a time, that over here before birth we used to say that primordial germ cell goes into the ovary and change into oogonia, where they mitotically increase their number into millions and differentiated into primary oocytes. This primary oocyte will start the process of meiosis. Since meiosis is two-step process, so meiosis 1 will start. But this meiosis 1 will not be completed. It will be arrested in prophase 1. So this is happening with the oocyte. But simultaneously on the outside, there are certain cells that has been started forming up. Those cells that has been started forming up, they are flat in appearance, means they are squamous cells. So when the squamous cell are present around this primary oocyte, we call it what? We call it primordial follicle. Okay, now nothing more will occur after this, and almost at this time millions of such oogonia which has been differentiated into primary oocyte and the process started has been started. But now nothing will happen, birth will occur. During the birth there will be follicular atresia that will occur. Basically means what? These follicles, that is primordial follicles that has been formed, they will be ruptured. Okay, they will degenerate or they will die. Okay, and during the puberty only about 60 to 80,000 of these follicles in which they are arrested in prophase 1, that is primary oocyte is arrested in that phase, they will be there in each ovary. Now what will happen then? As the puberty will hit, during the time of puberty we know that what will happen, FHS and LH will secrete and it will complete this process and forms what? These two structures, that is primary polar body and the secondary oocyte. Now the question is, during this whole process, this time from puberty, what is the follicular development? So here the follicular development present. So these flat cells which are present over there, they will becomes little cuboidal in shape, and now we call them granulosa cell because they start secreting certain thing. What are the thing? Estrogen. So always remember that estrogen will start secreting from it, and this follicle will be called as primary follicle. Now as the cycle keep on increasing, FHS is keep on secreting LH, then what will happen? More follicles will develop under the influence of FHS hormone from the pituitary gland, and more cells will form. More follicular cells will be forming around the primary oocyte. Meanwhile, the first meiosis 1, all processes are going on in the primary oocyte. So now it will form more layers, and these layers will be called as theca layers. So we have already cell layer, cuboidal cell layer, and more layer is forming called as theca layers. And now this follicle is called as what? It is called as secondary follicle. Now after this what will happen? The theca layers will divide into theca externa and theca interna layers. Along with that, there is a formation of a cavity called as antrum, which is a fluid filled cavity. And once the antrum is present, we identified this follicle as the tertiary follicle. So this is tertiary follicle. Okay, now what will happen? It will grow further. Okay, this antrum will completely form the whole structure, means it will be most of the portion, whereas this, by this time when the tertiary follicle is formed, then there is a, this first meiosis one is completed by now. And what will happen simultaneously, this secondary oocyte, it will form a layer around itself called as zona pellucida. Okay, and around it certain cells forms a covering called as corona radiata. Along with that, there is a portion where it is attached to the follicular parts. Okay, that area is called as cumulus euphorus. It is kind of stalk-like structure, cumulus euphorus. Okay, and this structure is called as mature follicle. Okay, so this is what? Mature follicle. And sometimes it is also referred to as what? It is referred as Graafian follicle. Okay, moving on, as this Graafian follicle is formed, simultaneously secondary oocyte will initiate, like what is over here, these things, secondary oocyte will keep on starting its process. Okay, and it will be what? This secondary oocyte will be released. Okay, so means how it will release? It is captured inside this cells layer. So basically what happened? There will be high level of LH and FH. Means there will be peak of these hormones released and it will burst the Graafian follicle. As the Graafian follicle is burst, this is what? Rupturing. This structure that you are seeing, that is rupturing of Graafian follicle. And this is your secondary oocyte, which is still present in what? Metaphase 2 is released with a cell layer around itself, that is corona radiata. Okay, into what? Into the fallopian tubes. What happened with this ruptured follicle? This ruptured follicle, now it will go into what? It will condense. It will still be present inside the ovary and condense to form corpus luteum. And when this corpus luteum is formed, it starts secreting progesterone. Now, if someone will ask, like, these follicles only releasing estrogen and progesterone, then what is the role of it? The role is that it maintain or it motivate the uterus to form the lining if the pregnancy occur, so that implantation can occur over there. I hope you would able to understand this whole process.